Hello friends, in this video tutorial we are going to discuss how to make simple login form with sessions in CodeIgniter framework. In this video tutorial we will make simple login form with session by using CodeIgniter framework. In CodeIgniter framework, creating of sessions is different than simple PHP. We will discuss how to create session for login into system in CodeIgniter framework. Here we will discuss how can we use model view controller coding style for validate user information, and if user has enter right login information and then create simple session variable in CodeIgniter framework. Now let us start write code, but before write coding, see this is our testing database, and in this database we have one users table with 3 columns like id, username and password, and in this table we have already inserted one user's data like username is equal to admin and password is equal to admin. Now we want to validate this information in CodeIgniter framework. This our CodeIgniter framework file system, and for making database connection we have go to application folder, and in this folder we have go to config folder, and in config folder we have go to database.php file, and we have to write necessary information like host name, username, password and database name information into this file. This way we have make database connection. After making database connection, we want to load login page in browser. In CodeIgniter framework we can load web page by controllers, so we already have one controller like main controller, and we have set this controller as default controller. So on this controller page we have defined one function with name login. This function will load login page in browser. For load login page we have to write our base URL, which is localhost/tutorial/CodeIgniter, which is our folder name. This is our base URL which we have set into config folder. After writing this URL we have to write main, which is our controller name /function name login. When we have write this URL in browser, then it will load login page in browser. For load login page under this function by loading view file under this function, so for this we have to write $this with loading class object load with view method with 2 argument. In first argument we have to write view file you want to load. Here we want to load login.php file. Here we can write file name without extension also. So we have write login, and in second argument we have write we data want to send to this view file. So here we have write $data variable in array. In this function we want to send some data from this function to view file in array format. Here we have defined data variable, so we have write $data array variable with key name title is equal to text like a CodeIgniter simple login form with sessions. We will use this text on view login page by writing $title variable. Now we have moved the view login file which we have already created under view folder, so in login file first we have to create simple login form on file, so we have write HTML form tagged with attribute method is equal to post and action is equal to open and close PHP tag, and between tag we have write echo statement with base URL function. This function will return base URL which we have already defined under config.php page. Then after we have write main, which is controller name /login validation, which is function name which we will create under main controller. Form will be submitted to this link. After this, under this form, we have create text box for enter username, so we have write input type is equal to text with attribute name is equal to username. After defining text box for username, now we want to define text box for entering password, so we have write input type is equal to password with attribute name is equal to password. Now we want to define submit button for send form data to the server, so we have write input type is equal to submit with attribute name is equal to insert and value is equal to login. When we have click on this button, then our request will send to this URL which we have defined under form tags action attribute. So our form is ready and we have already loaded this view file under main controller login function. So we have checked this login form is load under login function. Friends, we have URL like localhost/tutorial/CodeIgniter/main controller name/function login and press enter. We see that login form has been loaded under this login function, and when we have click on login button, then request has been to main/login validation page, which is not found. So we have to create login validation function under main controller. So in main controller we have write function login validation. This way we have to create function in controller. So when login form has been submitted, then at that time this function will be called. Under this function, first we want to put validation like value of both text box like username and password is required. So for this, first we want to CodeIgniter form validation library. So for this we have to write $this with loading class object load with library method with one argument like form validation, which is library name. This will load form validation library under this function. Now we want to apply form validation rule to both text box. So for this we have write $this with form validation library object form validation with set rules method with two argument. In first argument we have to write the name of HTML element on which you want to apply validation rule. So here we have write username, which is name of text box for entering username, and in second argument we have to write validation rule name, which is required. By writing this rule, so when form has been submitted without writing value of username text box, then form will be submitted. This way we have apply validation rule on username text box. Then after we want to apply validation rule to password text box, so we have write $this with form validation with set rules method with two argument. In first argument we have to write HTML element. So here we have write password, and in second argument we have to write validation rule. So here we have write required. So this way we can apply form validation rule to HTML text box. Now we want to write code for validate login data if both text box pass the form validation library rules. So for this we have write if statement with condition like $this tagged with object operator with form validation library name with object operator with run method. This condition will check if this run method return true if it has successfully applied your rules without any of them failing, otherwise it return false. If form validation library return false, that means either any of the text box or both text box has no value, so it will execute else block of code, and here we want to again load login form. So for this we have write $this with login function. In this function we have already load login form. So this way we can load HTML login form if both text box has no value. After loading this login form again, so we want to print form validation error message also, so we have go to views folder login.php page, and for display error message for username text box. So below this text box we have write open and close PHP tagged with echo statement with form error function with one argument, which is name of text box, which is username. This function will return form validation error message here. Same way we want to print error message below password text box. So below this text box we have write echo statement with form error function with one argument, which is password, which is name of password text box, and it will print error message if this text box not follow form validation rules. This way we have set form validation error message on this page. But suppose if form validation rules return true, that mean both text box has some value. So first we have to store the value of both text box value into local variable, so we have write $username variable is equal to $this with input class object input with post method with one argument, and here we have write username, which is name of username text box. This way we have store value of text box under this username variable. Same way we want to store the value of password text box under local variable, so we have write $password variable is equal to $this with input class object input with post method with one argument like password, which is name of password text. Now we want write code for check login data which we have received from HTML form is correct or not. So for this we have to go to model folder in which we have already make one model file which is main model.php, and under this file we have write one function with name can login with two argument like $username and $password. In CodeIgniter framework, all database related query we have to under model file, so here we have write this can login function with two argument and we will receive argument from controller login validation function, and that function has received that login data from viewLogin.php file. In this function we have first write $this with database class object with where function with two argument key and value. So here in key we have write username and in value we have write $username which we have received from can login function argument, and here username is the name users table column. In this function next we have write $this with database class object with where function with two argument key and value. So here in key we have write password and in value we have write $password which we have received from can login function argument, and here password is the name users table column. Then after in this function we have write $query variable is equal to $this with database class object with get function with one argument. Here in this we have write users which is table name. This code will produce this select query with condition, and by this get function runs this select query and returns the result. Now we want to check number of rows in query result. If select query has more than 0 rows, that means we have entered correct user information, but it returns 0 rows, that means we have entered wrong login data. So for this we have write if statement with condition like $query variable with numRows function greater than 0. Here numRows function return the number of rows in query execution result. If number of rows greater than 0, that means we have entered correct login information and it will execute if block of code, and in this block we have write return true statement. But there is 0 rows, that means we have entered wrong login data, so it will execute else block of code, and in this block we have write return false. So our function is ready for validation user login data. Now we want to call this function under main controller login validation function, so we have go to main controller login validation function, and here first we want to load main model under this function, so we have write $this with load object with model function with one argument which is model name. Here we have write main model, so it will load main model into this function. Now we want to call main models can login function here. So for this we have write if statement with condition like $this with main model name with can login function with two argument like $username and $password, which we have already defined above this code. This code will check if we have enter right login information, then it will execute if block of code. In this if block of code we have write $session data variable is equal to array with key username is equal to value $username. This is simple array in which we have store username data into this array format. Now we want to create session under this CodeIgniter application and store this data into session variable. So for creating session under CodeIgniter application, first we want to load session library. So for this we have to go to config folder autoload.php, and under this page we have to define session library under autoload library array. After writing here, this classes will load session library when application has been first loaded. After loading session library under CodeIgniter application, now we want to set the encryption key, because in CodeIgniter all session data has been encrypted by encryption class of CodeIgniter. So for this we have to provide encryption key for encryption class. We can get encryption key from this site. After getting encryption key we want to put key into config.php page. On this page we have to paste key into $config array with key encryption key. Here we want to paste encryption key. So now we can use session under our CodeIgniter application. This way we can start session into our CodeIgniter application. Now we have moved to main controller page, and here we want to store this data under session variable. So for this we have write $this with session library with set user data function with one argument. Here we can define data which we want to store into session variable. So here we have write $session data variable in which we have stored data in array format. This way we can store data into session. After this we want to redirect this page to new page. So for this we have write redirect function, and under this function we have write base URL function .main controller name /enter function. This will redirect page to this link. But suppose main controller can login function return false value. That means we have enter wrong login information, so it will execute else block of code, and in this block we want to generate error message for wrong login information. So for this here we have write $this with session library with set flash data function with two argument. In first argument we can write name of message. Here we have write error as name of message, and in second argument we have write error message like invalid username and password. This function will store error message in session. So when user enter wrong login data it will be generate and store in session. After this page must be redirect to login page, so for this here we have write redirect function with argument like URL to which you want to redirect. Here we want to redirect to base URL function .main controller /login function. So page will be redirect to login page. Now we want to define this error message on views login.php page. So on this page here we have write $this session library with flash data function with one argument which is name of flash message. Here we have store into this error. So when we have enter wrong login details, then at that time it will display error message here. Now we have defined new function enter. After login we will be redirect to this page, so we have write function with name enter. So when user enter write information then it will be redirect to this function. So under this function we want to first check user is login or not. So for this we have write if statement with condition like $this with session library object with user data with one argument which is session variable name. Here we have write username which is session variable is not equal to blank. By using user data function we can fetch value of session variable. So, this condition will check this username session variable is some value of not. If has not value then it will execute else block of code, and in this block we want to redirect page to login page. So here we have write redirect function with argument like, and an argument we have write base URL function .main controller name /login function. This will redirect to this login link. But suppose there is session variable has value, then it will execute if block of code. So in this block we want to display value of session username variable, so we have write echo statement with text like welcome, and for print username we have write $this with session library with user data with name of session variable which is username. This will print value this session username. Below this username we want to print Logout Link, so we have write echo statement with anchor tag with attribute ref is equal to base URL function .main controller name /logout, and anchor text here we have write logout. So this is the logout link. When we have click on this link, page has been redirected to this logout function. So we want to first define logout function. So here we have write function logout. In this function we want to remove value of session variable and page must be redirect to login page. So here we have write $this with session library with unset user data function, and under this function we have write username which is session variable name, and unset user data function will remove this username session variable value. After removing session variable value, our page must be redirect to login page. So here we have write redirect function with argument like base URL function.main controller name /login function. So after removing session variable value, it will be redirect to this login function and it will load the HTML login page. So now our code is ready for simple login system into CodeIgniter application. So we have save all file code and check output in browser. Friends, we can see that when we have directly click on login button then it display error message like fields are required. That means our form validation code are working properly. Then after we have again insert wrong username or password. So that means our function for validate login information is working. Now we have enter right username or password and press enter, page has been redirect to the center function, and on this page we can see the username which is admin, and below we can see the logout link. So when we have click on logout link, page has been redirect to again login page. So our code is working for make simple login system in CodeIgniter application. Here system is working on model view controller coding style. That means here system has received login data from view, and from view it has been sent to controller, and then after controller has sent that data to models for validate data are proper or not, then after model send back result to controller and controller send back result to view. This way login system are work in CodeIgniter framework. This is my simple CodeIgniter application for login system. If you like this video tutorial, please share this video tutorial with your friends, or even you can also share on social media also. Friends, you want to get more update of my video, so, friends, you can subscribe my YouTube channel. Friends, you can also like my Facebook page also, or you can also follow Webs Listen on Twitter.